Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to the World Center of Racing for the regular season finale for the Soda Guys Cup Series. We're here at the high banks of Daytona International Speedway. 16 drivers, when the checkered flag waves, will be embarking on their playoff postseason, trying to see if they can make it to the Final Four to compete for the championship, but 80 laps stand in their way between now and then. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Warren Keith here tonight. Kind of ironic that we're broadcasting here tonight, Warren, a track that you and I actually met up at, but we talked pre-broadcast, and you mentioned you kind of think that the way that this setup works with these drivers, they're going to be forced to be aggressive. They're not going to be able to hang back.
Oh, absolutely not. They're going to have to be aggressive, and you're going to have to take every run you get. And, with it being Daytona, you're going to want to win here regardless, right? But when you're racing at this track with this kind of package, it's either do I lay back or do I be aggressive? There is no in-between, so it's going to be interesting to see what drivers do what strategy tonight.
Pretty much 16 drivers look like they could be locked in unless one of 4 drivers are able to win their way into the playoffs. Those 4 drivers are outside the cutoff line, and they are the 34 of Ty Cole, the 32 of Larry Reed, the 3 of Greg Newsom, and the 27 of Dalton Collins. I believe the 34 of Ty Cole is not in the field, so we're down to 3 drivers that could displace Vincent Arthur, who right now is in that 16th and final playoff position, from making it into the chase for the championship.
Yeah, and a little housekeeping here. For a second, I didn't think the 6th car made the grid, but I believe he might have, so Justin Levine might be able to keep his spot. But as the grid forms up, let's just say this right now. What do you expect tonight, Seth? Are you expecting a big wreck early or late in this race? We saw last night they had a wreck late in the race, went almost caution-free. What do you expect tonight?
Yeah, I'm expecting to maybe see the same thing. I think we will see possibly a round of green flag pit stops take place like we saw in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series race last night. I think you're going to see as well a lot of the manufacturer alliances again, too. You're going to see the Fords hook up with fellow Fords, the Chevys and the Toyotas. They'll be hooking up with their fellow manufacturers. But if we get to that round of green flag pit stops, we saw how all of that strategy kind of broke away with drivers struggling trying to get into their pit stalls on pit road. We're going to quickly go down and get a word here with the driver of the 11, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. We're about to be going green, but he is going to be the regular season champion here as soon as they take the green. Let's see if we can get a word with him real quick. Hey Taylor, it's Warren and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, I know we're getting ready to go green, so we're going to just talk to you quickly here. You've got the regular season championship taking the green flag here tonight. What's the strategy with that, with knowing you've got those bonus points to fall back on now?
I'll probably just hang out for a little while, depending on what's going on up front. But at the end of the day, I'm going to try to get this FedEx 11 into victory lane because, based on like what you said, basically got it wrapped up. So it's going to be a good show, I think.
Oh, we know we're going green here, and we know that you want to concentrate, so we're going to let you head back down there and communicate with your teammates, but good luck tonight.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Green flag in the air, and they are now making their way out of turn 2. Logan Helton, who finished second in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series race last night, pacing the field out of Stuart Haas Racing, and he was having to hold off the 2 of Boyd Hogan, the driver that's got 10 wins here this season in Soda Guys Cup Series.
Yeah, the number 21 of Justin Carey just about got into him there on the quarter panel. He was trying to side draft pretty aggressively for lap 1. But off turn 4, it's going to be the 41 of Logan Helton leading lap 1 here at Daytona.
They see that 27 back there of Dalton Collins, and you're probably wondering, well, he had a trip to victory lane earlier on this season. Why is he not locked into the playoffs? The reason is you have to be in the top 20 in points with a victory to be playoff eligible, and he comes into this race 21st in the point standings, 43 points out. And to be able to gain those 43 points, he has to go to victory lane here tonight at Daytona. So we'll see if Collins can maybe be able to put that 27 in victory lane for the second time this season.
Yeah, and he's doing exactly what he needs to right now. The field kind of doing what we've been seeing all week in official races. Everyone's getting strung out. A couple high side ringers. Got the 2 car on the high side, followed by, I believe, it's the 42 of Tom Drelling on the high side, trying to tandem around the outside, but it's you're going to have to get in line eventually and maybe start saving fuel as if it goes green flag long enough, you're going to have that green flag pit stop, and you're going to want to pit with whoever you saving fuel with you.
Boyd Hogan, as you said, trying to lead that outside line there, and a thing that we were actually told by Hogan prior to tonight's race was the fact that, on the outside line, a lot of times when you have drivers run that outside line, you've got those faster cars out in front, it's difficult for the cars behind to actually stay in line because there's such an arrow push.
There's an arrow push, but that top side, as we were just saying, that is getting organized, and the energy is there. As you can see right now, Boyd Hogan, he is easily marching his way up to alongside the 48 car as they come off the tri-oval. So the high side getting some momentum, but you're right. It is hard to get the top side more organized because, one, if you're on the bottom, you have that yellow line to guide you, and you can all stay in a good, nice, single-filed line. But outside, you have that little bit of room on the outside, and sometimes you really can't judge where the bumper is. So it's going to be tough for the outside line to keep up all night, but right now, they're doing some good headway.
Richard Reagan Jr. was up in that outside line, now swaps down to the inside behind Justin Carey. So it leaves Hogan and Drailing by their lonesome up on that outside line. But I was watching these guys in practice, and even a two-car tandem's able to carry at nearly 200 miles per hour down the straightaway. So we could maybe see these guys lock bumpers as a two-car tandem and still be able to make that outside line work.
Yeah, but it's going to be for a short period of time, and you're going to want to make the passes while you can because that engine is going to get hot really quickly. As you see the two-car of Boyd Hogan trying to get down, indeed he will. And they'll leave the 42 car of Tom Drelling left out the drive, but Reagan Jr. might let him in, not exactly. So there goes the 42 as the 2, now back out to the outside.
I'm glad that you brought up the fact about the water temperatures there and overheating the engine, because we saw in last night's race, this is an open setup league. These drivers have the luxury of choosing just how much grill tape they want to put on that nose, and we saw a couple of drivers have their engines blow up on them during green flag conditions last night, David Santini and Tom Laneville. So we could see the same thing happen here tonight with some of these Cup Series drivers.
Yeah, but if you're smart and you're starting near the mid or back of the pack, you're going to take all the tape off. Because eventually you're going to be up behind someone trying to get to the front. As on the flip side, if you're the 41 car, you probably put as much tape as you want on the front of that car, because you know you're going to be leading and possibly leading this first section of the race. You want to be as fast as you can. It's a great run on the outside there by Boyd Hogan. He's getting alongside the 48 there just by himself, but you're going to want to put as much tape as you want on it if you're up there in the lead.
Boyd Hogan, Richard Reagan Jr., these are drivers that have already locked themselves into the playoffs. What they're looking for now is another trip to victory lane to rack up 3 more playoff points. Right now, Boyd Hogan's got the most with 30. Next highest would be Caden Rush with 6. And then Ty McWhirter and Richard Reagan Jr. have 3 apiece. So right now, everybody just trying to cut into that playoff point lead that Boyd Hogan's going to have when the points get reformatted after Daytona.
As we see the 48 car of Brandon Andrews thought about going the high side, the 21 of Justin Carey said, no, I'm not going with you. I'm going to stay on the bottom of the racetrack here. But this might be the chance for right here for Boyd Hogan to get up to the high side again, try to make that outside work. He's at the 48 car to leapfrog him. You see the 11 duck down on the inside. That's your regular season champion. As they're starting to stack up for about 6th on back. And that could get dodgy as we go through the run. His 11 car just about hit the apron going into turn 3. That's something you're going to have to be watching tonight. You hit the apron going in the corners, you will shoot up the racetrack, as right now the top side is going to let them go 3 wide.
It's going to be Brandon Andrews stuck in the middle as Boyd Hogan trying to get the outside of him. Yeah, I think he is there to the right rear quarter panel. Tom Drailing, Oscar Jensen up there as well, as I believe that is the 22 of Chad Gunisman also on that outside line. A couple of drivers that I noticed actually towards the back, and I think this is strategy. A bunch of your Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets, Joseph Piscota, James Love, as well as Vincent Arthur, all back here. You got a couple of the RCR drivers as well, Chris Noble, Greg Newsom, Ryan Strunk in the 77. We saw the Chevrolets actually pull this strategy in last night's race as well.
Yeah, and it's not a bad strategy. This could let you avoid the wreck whenever it may happen. It will probably happen the night set. Let's be real, it's Daytona, it's a plate race. But you're also saving fuel back here. You're behind this pack, and with this huge spoiler, you're running partial throttle keeping up with this pack. So right now, this is probably for 2 reasons. 1, to stay away from that wreck, and 2, to keep that pit strategy just in your window.
Last night's race, we saw drivers make green flag pit stops somewhere between laps 44 to 47. So I'm assuming that tonight's race, with only 5 laps added on, will more than likely be a one-stop race as well. However, if we get some of those late race cautions, drivers will have the option whether they want to come to pit road and get tires. They've got 3 sets available to them here tonight, but as we know, usually tires aren't as much a deciding factor at the super speedways as track position is.
Yeah, that might be the case, but with this package, we've seen drivers actually, and in this being an open setup league, we want to reiterate that you might have a setup that burns the right rear off, a little bit more than the other drivers, and you might want to take that set, and just to be good near the end of the race. So it's going to be interesting to see if you take right sides, left sides, what setup works for with better tire. As the front of the field is now getting single file off the super stretch, it's going to be interesting to see how this one stop, whenever it does come, just how important it's going to be tonight.
Top 6 are all single file, and then they're battling for 7th place on back. Larry Reed, John Mullins. That's the 52 up there of Cody Jordan, one of our National Series drivers that are taking part in tonight's event. He, along with Logan Helton, and I believe there's another one in the field that is here. No, those might actually just be the only 2 from the... Tim Williams, I'm sorry. Tim Williams in the 18, also a National Series driver, taking part in tonight's Cup race.
Yeah, and you see that 13 on the high side. I've been spotting all week, getting paid to spot for some of these bigger guys in official races. And let me tell you right now, when you're seeing these 3 drivers making the headway they are, if you're at the front of the field like you're a Richard Reagan Jr. or the 41 Logan Helton, you see that and you want to react to that. 21 just about did that. He wanted to go up and block it. You see the 18 now coming up. These guys know the runs, where they're coming from, and where they need to come from. As you see drivers hit pit lane already.
Does not look like it would be a regularly scheduled stop. However, 2 drivers are coming in. 3 drivers make it 4. All 4 Mustangs coming to pit road. Richard Reagan Jr., Larry Reed, Boyd Hogan, and Chad Gunesman.
And we're going to have to check to see if Richard Reagan Jr. made the pit line with the speed. He was coming in hot.
Yeah.
And he might have just got it down, but it's going to be close. We're going to have to check if he gets a penalty or not.
And because of all those drivers coming to pit road, it really kind of shuffled up the front of the field. It's now going to be Cody Jordan around the outside with help from Oscar Jensen. For a moment there, John Mullins had the spot, but he's going to slot into this 2nd place battle with the 47 as Jordan will go to the lead in that Rick Ware Racing Ford Mustang.
And indeed, penalty 17. He's in the box serving it now. So penalty for Richard Reagan Jr. Too fast entering on that Ford Mustang. That's going to put him a lap down as the drivers who just came off pit road are about halfway down the back straightaway now, getting up to speed as the field goes through 1 and 2.
Another driver that I believe started the race from pit road was the 6 of Justin Levine. I believe you commented on that he didn't make it onto the grid. Right now, he is currently the last car on the lead lap, and I'm trying to figure out what the strategy call is for those drivers that came to pit road as early as they did. I'm not really sure there's much to be gained based on the fact that these drivers pretty much knew coming in it was going to be a one-stop race if we managed to go green a long ways in this thing.
It would have worked if it wasn't for the 17 having this penalty. I'll be honest with you. We've seen this in official races all week. When you have about 6 or 5 cars in a pack, you're going to be quicker than the main pack if they're, double wide, which right now, obviously, they're not. They're almost single file the whole way through as there's a battle for the lead. But it would have worked with about 5 cars, but that 1 car being off, that might cost that Fordria just the couple lap down. So this is not what they wanted coming in this early.
Of course, one of those drivers, Larry Reed, having to win his way into the playoffs, so this strategy may be detrimental to his hopes of making it into the chase for the championship, as Oscar Jensen showing the way in that 47. Sam and I have documented the last couple of weeks how that 47, all of a sudden, his finishes have gone from mediocre to absolutely phenomenal, and it all kind of seemed to culminate after a couple of drivers got eliminated from up in the top of the playoff grid and the playoff line moved up. And all of a sudden, Oscar Jensen found himself 100-plus points to the good. Kind of seemed to turn over a new leaf for that driver out of JTG Daughtery Racing.
Indeed. And, momentum, we don't speak about momentum a lot going into plate races because, we say it's a lottery. But momentum does mean a lot of plate races. You come in here and you're feeling up on top of cloud 9, you're going to make bold moves and bold blocks, and that can win you a race here and show the way. So, well done for Oscar Jensen. He's got himself in the playoffs, and he's leading the race here at Daytona.
It's interesting. We're seeing these drivers all running single file, but they're choosing to run the inside line. A lot of times when we go to super speedways and they all single file up, they all want to run either the middle or the high line. So Is it just because of the nighttime conditions here that we're seeing these drivers running right down to that double yellow line?
It could be. It could be the track has a little bit more grip and the setups allow that. But, this is a far fetch, and, me being a spotter, I love far fetches. They could be running the bottom side to try to chase down this Ford group. They've slowly been doing it, and it wouldn't surprise me if you're the leader of this race. You're going, let's go on the bottom side and catch these guys and obviously take them out of contention early. So this could be a little of a mind game going on in this pack, or it just could be the simple answer that you can be able to run the bottom of the setups.
One thing we got to kind of keep an eye on here is the race within the race, because we already documented the drivers that if they went to victory lane, they would make their way into the playoffs. 4 drivers in total, 3 of which took the green flag to start tonight's event. The question is, who would be the driver that got eliminated out with? Now, we mentioned that Vincent Arthur came into this race 16th in the playoff grid. However, he is only 1 point back from his teammate Joseph Piscota. So those two back here are in the 14th and 16th positions respectively. They're kind of in their own little battle here, dependent on if a driver is able to get himself up to the front that could win its way into the playoffs. Those two would have to settle out amongst themselves of which is going to be the Hendrick Chevy that gets eliminated.
Yeah, and that could be something we'll have to touch on later, because if they are going to work together as Hendrick Chevrolets, that's all fun and dandy, but the gloves will come off eventually in this race, and one of them's going to leave each other out to dry and drop to the back of the field. So as of right now, they might be shaking hands with a little smirk on their face going, I'm going to dump you later. So we'll have to see how exactly it goes, but right now, as the laps wind on, they are helping each other by staying in this pack.
One thing I've also noticed up here, and I talked about it just before it went green, was I was expecting to see all the Chevys work together, all the Fords work together, and all the Toyotas work together. Well, our top 3, Chevy, Ford, Toyota, all of these manufacturers pretty much split up.
And, that could be by design. That just could be, the other guys kind of hit pit lane. Your Toyota teammate might have started a little bit deeper in the field. And you're just going to work with what you got right now. Obviously, we saw this, the Fords come down pit lane earlier. And if we cut back to them, they've actually got 5 cars in a pack. So they will be able to keep the gap open from the front of the field, which is good for them. But, this is the only part of the track right now we've seen organization like this to where, okay, we're pitting this lap, we're going to come down this lap, and, we might see it from the Hendrick Chevys later, but for right now, these Fords are the most organized and obviously the most ready for this race.
It's interesting, too, if you look at these 5 drivers and the agendas they had coming into this race. I mean, Boyd Hogan's already locked in with 10 wins. You've got Richard Reagan Jr. already locked in with his win at at Pocono, rather. You got the 22 of Gunnisman. He's been second in the points for a number of weeks. He's already going to be locked in on points, but you've also got that 32 of Larry Reed, who has to win his way into the playoffs. So looks like I'm not really sure if all this strategy was going to be more so for the 32's benefit than anybody else's, them trying to help Larry Reed make it into the postseason.
And it could. It very well could be. And as, pardon me there, as we were just looking last time by, Boyd Hogan ran a 44.8 compared to the 45.3 that Oscar Jensen ran, our leader. So that 5 is actually gapping the field. Now, this could be exactly like what you see at a 1.5 miles to a short track, or even on a road course for that matter. They are going to try to gap and undercut the main pack and come out after the pit stop ahead of this main pack. So I'm going to keep my eyes on that, as the rest of the field is now back to single file after having a couple laps of side-by-side action.
This is the 3rd Super Speedway race that the Soda Guys Cup Series drivers have been to. And after tonight, one of these drivers will be going to victory lane to Super Speedway for the first time this season, as neither driver that took part in the 2 previous Super Speedway races are in tonight's field. David Wright was the winner in the season opening race at Daytona, and Carl Dodson, who was in the 14 a few weeks ago, he was the winner at Talladega. So we will have a brand new Super Speedway winner here tonight in a Super Speedway race in the Soda Guys Cup Series. The question is, who will it be? And we're getting closer and closer. We're about maybe 25 laps away from when these drivers will absolutely have to come to pit road to make that potential green flag pit stop. And we saw pit road be just as detrimental to drivers as the dreaded big one out on the racing surface last night, Warren.
Indeed, and we've already seen that tonight. With, that's a quarter panel, the 52 and the 47, almost gonna spun him down the back straightaway. But we've already seen that tonight with Richard Reagan Jr. coming down pit lane. You need to get it wound up when you're coming down, or you will have to serve a penalty and, in theory, lose a whole lap. So that could just be as detrimental as getting in a wreck.
Oscar Jensen leading 3 regular drivers from the National Series. Cody Jordan driving for Junior Motorsports. Tim Williams driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. Logan Helton driving for BJ McLeod Motorsports. They're second, third, and fourth. And Justin Carey filled in at Wood Brothers Racing last night in the National Series race. And right now he's got his Wood Brothers Cup Series ride up in that 5th position.
Yeah, and he's doing a good job, isn't he? He's staying with his pack. He's doing everything he needs to do for this race. And just doing a good job keeping in the top 5. You really can't ask for more than that. And, you know, it's the way the field goes. You're going to want to start looking back in the field to see these Hendrick boys. You know, you don't want to, you know, if you get double file back there or something goes wrong, you will lose the draft when they're single file. So, you know, as much as you're in the draft right now, a couple laps from now, something happens to those guys, they might not be in the draft.
So it's interesting, too, because in last night's race, there were a lot of Toyotas, there were a lot of Chevrolets, but there were, I think, 3 Fords. Well, the manufacturer that's outnumbered here tonight would be the Toyota Camry. There's only 3 of them in tonight's field, the 18, the 11, and the 96. Kind of almost seeming like they're having to follow the same strategy the Fords did last night, where your friends are where you find them. You'll work with whoever will be willing to push you to the front, or whoever you're willing to push to the front.
Yeah, and if you're down like that and you're 3 compared to the, you know, multiple numbers of Fords and Chevrolets we have tonight, you're going to want to work with one of the 2 manufacturers. And obviously right now, it isn't the Ford, so they're obviously working with the Chevys. And it'll be interesting to see when they come down pit lane if that's the case, they're going to come down with them or not.
Actually, I want to correct myself. There are 4 Toyotas in the field tonight. Chris Hansen in the 20 also in tonight's event. As up at the front, these drivers continue to run single file. We saw a couple of drivers double wide back there. They're still double wide with the 11 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, and I thought he was actually trying to drop to the back of the pack, but he's actually been kind of holding on that top side alongside the 77 of Ryan Strunk.
And that could be by his setup. He might have put too much tape on it, trying to keep it cool, and he might just have enough tape that when he's running up there, he's actually keeping ahead of the 3 car who might not have as much tape. So, you know, this is one of those things with the open setup leagues on a super speedway. You see a guy poke his nose out, you might go, oh, he's trying to make a move. No, he's probably just trying to cool a car off by being a single file this whole time. That's probably what's going on with your regular season champion, Taylor Butcher Benjamin.
You saw he had a huge run there after a push from Greg Newsom up to the back bumper of Ryan Strunk, and then immediately jumped up to that second groove again. So you might have hit the nail right on the head in terms of him wanting to make sure he's got that clean air to the nose of his FedEx Toyota, but he's going to have to kind of wait it out here for another 20 laps or so before he can come to pit road, make the adjustment, and take that little bit of grill tape off to cool that engine down.
Yeah, you know, and this could be the other thing. He might be coming back to set up with the other Toyotas that are back here. You have the 96 and the 20. So this might be by design that he's going back here to line up with these guys and be ready for a pit stop. You think you might see the 18 start doing that eventually, but if he's up in the front, he might just say, all right, well, I'm going to do my own thing. But if you're already back there, I mean, you might as well fall back just a bit more and line up with the other Toyotas.
I mentioned the fact that you've got all these different manufacturers kind of split up here towards the front of the field, and obviously there's some communications that are going to be going on of drivers trying to figure out what lap they would come to pit road under green flag conditions. If it ends up being the Chevys are going to pit with the Chevys, the Fords with the Fords, the Toyotas with the Toyotas, it's going to be a little bit difficult, I think, for these drivers to orchestrate it based on the fact that if you look at the 52, he's got a car between himself and the next 2 Fords. If you look at the 18, it's a long ways back to 12 before you find the next Toyota. And for Oscar Jensen out here in front, you got to go all the way back outside of the top 5, 6th place before you find the next Chevrolet Bowtie. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers are going to be able to kind of figure out where they need to be in terms of coming down pit road together and not running each other over and not getting run over in the process.
Yeah, but you know, those are one of those things you understand way ahead of time. Is we had Oscar Jensen actually blink out for a while now, since off turn 2, and it's the 52 car now leading the race as they come off turn number 4. So we'll see that 47 pops back in. If not, that's going to be disastrous for that 47 car. But that's something, you know, you have in your mind and you work it out. You know where the other Fords are. If you have a personal spotter, I know a couple of these drivers do in here, they're telling them where they are, where they're setting up. They're probably talking to them. everything's all good. You know where everyone's at, and that just makes these plate races a little bit more, easy to manage when it comes to that.
Oscar Jensen, you already documented it, but he has been out quite a while, and if he's out for too long, it's actually going to kick him out of the session, and that's going to be very difficult for him to be able to get those laps back if he does indeed reconnect back into the server, especially with the fact that Richard Reagan Jr. right now is running a lap down, and he would be the free pass car should we get a caution. But we're closing in here, potentially on green flag pit stops here tonight at Daytona. We are more than a third of the way through this race. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break as we nearly just had a wreck there through the oval with Tim Williams. Boy, what a time to go to the break. Just in case something like that happens, we're going FRN side by side. You won't miss a thing. Here to Daytona International Speedway as we are nearing the halfway point here tonight in the regular season finale of the Soda Guys Cup Series. Cody Jordan and Logan Helton, a couple of Rapid Fire Pizza National Series drivers, are pacing the field here tonight as Oscar Jensen, we saw him out in front earlier, he has fallen out of the server completely, so a tough break there for the 47. The good news is he's moving on to the playoffs, but now it's a couple of Ford Mustangs, actually 3 Ford Mustangs out in front.
And on the point of Ford Mustangs, we got to go back to 18th where Boyd Hogan is. Last lap for the leaders while we were on break was a 46, and they were running 45s. They were lapping almost a second quicker than the field, and that lap time was actually 7/10 quicker than the field. So this pit strategy, with them being 5 cars in a line, is outstandingly working out for them, and they might catch the back of the field before they even come in for their pit stops.
Yeah, these drivers were all about 35 seconds back when we last looked, and I think that was back around lap 25. So to your point, they have made great strides here in catching their way back up, and especially staying on the lead lap, with the exception of Richard Reagan Jr., who we already talked about, had that speeding penalty on pit road, but he is in line for the free pass position. As we see, the 52 of Cody Jordan got kicked up to the high line, going to shove his way right down in front of Tim Williams in the 18, but I'm almost wonder if maybe the 52 might have been running a little hot, went up to get some clean air to the nose.
Oh, it's mind games now. We're getting near the pit window. This is all shuffling around, getting your position. You know, you might figure out these guys ahead of you might be actually pitting later down pit lane. You're going to back up, try to get a cleaner shot in your pit stall. It's all mind games now. They're trying to line up and get ready for a pit stop.
What is going on with Taylor Butcher Benjamin? He's been able to work from 8th up now to the battle for 2nd by himself.
I said earlier that might be the tape. That's why he was poking out of line earlier. He was probably running too hot because he has so much tape on, and that's probably helping him now be able to gain this lead as the 11 car on lap 35 will now go to the point after being mid-pack recently, a couple about 10 laps ago.
And he brings John Mullins along with him, so now a couple of Fords that were leading find themselves back in 4th and 5th as another Toyota going to swing around them. Tim Williams in the 18 car, so all of a sudden the Camrys are looking really fast.
And the Camrys might be all on the same page with setups. And, you know, they have a quick car, they know it, haul in the back, but now pit stops are coming. It's time to get to the front and be able to lead this train on pit lane. But I'm not so sure they're going to like when they come out of pit lane where they're going to be, because these Fords, I can't point this out enough, they're halfway down the back now, the leaders, and they're just going into turn 1 are these Ford Mustangs. They are going to be near the back of the field if they do not pit here in the next 5 or so laps.
Yeah, the only problem is, though, for those Fords, they all came to pit road. Ooh, Cody Jordan got a little loose there in the center of 3. But they all came to pit road back on lap 12. I don't see how they can possibly make it the rest of the way without coming to pit road at least one more time, just based on the fuel number that we have. So they have to be banking on a caution here.
Hey, Seth?
Yeah.
Seth? They know more than we do. They know what's going on in that car. They know the fuel they have. They have this all. I mean, they wouldn't have come down that early unless there was a reason for coming down that early. You know, they don't just come down early to go, okay, we're going to make a pit stop. They have a reason to do it. And, you know, if one of these spotters has a calculator in their hand, like I do sometimes, you're going to calculate that out and go, okay, we can make it. Coming up pit road now, let's get in the line, let's chase back down this field and undercut them.
Well, it's interesting that Boyd Hogan has been the driver to actually lead this group, and he hasn't kind of like switched positions with anybody to be able to get the benefit of draft. He's been the one to cut the air for these drivers back here, and you know, he told us if you can get about 3-4 cars, fast race cars, all lined up, they can make a lot of headway. And boy, he was right, because he's proven it right now with 4 Mustangs right on his back bumper, all nose to tail. They've now gotten it cut down to 13 seconds between themselves and the last car in that lead group, the 20 of Chris Hansen.
Yeah, and these Hendrick Chevys need to be careful. They're fringing on the back of losing that front pack. You see them come off turn 4 here. You see the lead pack as they're coming down pit lane now, so, you know, forget what I'm talking about. Pit stops are coming underway as we have the 2 Camrys and the Ford of the 52 all coming down pit lane for their scheduled stop.
So Benjamin, Williams, and Jordan all on pit lane. Benjamin just led the last couple of laps. Jordan led a few laps as well in the 52 machine, as that's going to turn the lead over to the 13 of John Mullins, who actually inherited the lead back when we saw all those Fords duck to pit road back on lap 12. He's got Logan Helton, the pole sitter, right behind him, and now it's a question of when do these drivers come to pit road, as we are just about at the halfway mark of this race.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to point this out again because I'm going to be obsessive with this. We saw those drivers come down pit lane. You know, some of them took 2 tires. We saw the 52 take 2 tires there, 2 right sides. That Ford's blew by them, and now they're way out ahead of the drivers that just came down pit lane. So it is going to be very close to see if that strategy works out or not for these Fords. As you say, they might be short. And, you know, we'll have to see exactly how this works out. But right now the leader is Logan Helton.
Yeah, we just saw John Mullins coming to pit road, and that was a perfect pit stop for him in the fact that he did not slide his tires. He came down pit road with no tire smoke. The 6 of Justin Levine is actually back on pit road as well, and I believe he was one of those drivers that came down with the Ford contingency back on the 12th lap.
Now I'm going to correct you there. The 6 car, that's his first stop of the night. Yeah, that's his first stop of the night. So remember, he didn't make the start. So he was back behind the field to begin with, and he was just lucky enough to be with those Fords and make up some ground. And now he's theoretically back in this race, but that's his first pit stop of the night in that 6 car.
Biggest pack of the night on pit road as Helton leads Carey, Drayling, Noble, McWhirter. We had Piscota in, James Love is in, Ryan Strunk, Greg Newsom, Chris Hansen, all on pit road this time, leaving 2 drivers out there that are yet to pit. Dalton Collins in the 27, who's in a must-win situation. Vincent Arthur in the 24, who's trying to hang on to that final playoff spot.
Yep, and here come the Fords right on his back bumper. They're going to get to him before he gets to pit lane. So there is exactly your dramatic explanation on how fast those Fords were during that run. They're going to catch up to the 24 car as he's coming down pit lane and theoretically get out way ahead of him, and they're out really far ahead of this pack right now, as they're just about to put the 6th lap down. New leader, Boyd Hogan.
Boyd Hogan, 10-time winner this season, would love to end off the regular season with an 11th trip to victory lane, and first this season at a super speedway. As you mentioned, they're going around the 6 car. There's Ryan Strunk in the 77, a very lengthy pit stop for the driver out of that stable, as he may have gotten hit with a speeding penalty perhaps, which kept him on pit road for a long period of time. Dalton Collins, Vincent Arthur made their pit stops. They're going to be falling back outside of the top 5, as Logan Helton looks like he's going to be the one that's going to, well, I was going to say lead the pack to try and run down the Fords, but he's got nobody around him.
Yeah, and Chris Noble may be serving a penalty as no, actually he's dropped out as well. So Chris Noble had hit on pit lane and he's out of this race. So the 8 car out, and I was just about to point out that Chris Hansen in the 20, Greg Newsom in the 3, they're in danger of going a lap down just by draft, because the Fords are right on the back bumper just about going into turn 3. So these drivers, there's only 2 cars compared to 5, they're going to go a lap down just by the theory of the draft.
Well, Hansen's already locked into the playoffs, 12th in the playoff standings, but Newsom, on the other hand, who was running full-time down in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, but due to scheduling changes, had to swap over to full-time here in the Cup Series, was in a must-win situation coming into tonight. And right now, looking like he could be in big trouble of not advancing into the playoffs, as there's the 11 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin as well, that's now about to merge with this group of 2, and he's now in danger as well of possibly going a lap down to the race leaders.
And speaking of bubble, the one driver we're talking about bubble-wise, Vincent Arthur, unfortunately, he will be going a lap down either this lap or the beginning of the next lap, as the pack of Boyd Hogan, Larry Reed, Chad Gunsman, Tim Williams, they're all catching up to him.
So right now, Vincent Arthur is maybe the biggest Boyd Hogan fan out there, because if Hogan goes to victory lane, the top 16 in the playoffs do not change. Arthur would still advance into the playoffs, but that 32 of Larry Reed, if he's able to go to victory lane, then Reed is in, Arthur would be out.
Yeah, so he's going to want to, he'll go, Boyd Hogan, go on by, go win this race for me. That's pretty much the 24th to do, but it's good for him. He's going to get in this draft and be able to catch up with drivers ahead of him, like Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Greg Newsom, and Chris Hansen. So this might work out for the 24 if he plays his card right.
We talked with Vincent Arthur last night, finished 3rd place in the Rapid Fire Pizza race yesterday evening, and we asked if there was anything he could take away from that race that could apply to tonight's race, and he gave us a couple of things. But when you go to Daytona, when you go to Talladega, there are so many different scenarios, so many different ways that things play out. I don't think this was how Vincent Arthur envisioned that he was going to be running at the midway point of this race, currently 1 lap down, even though he's currently, I believe, well, he's battling for that lucky dog position right now.
Yeah, that lucky dog position is actually on your screen, the 6, 17, and 24. That is your battle for the lucky dog if the caution were to come out. So that's why the 6 and 17 are not even thinking about drafting with that 24, as they're going to try to tandem around them on the outside of the racetrack. That is a battle for the lucky dog spot, but that could be more, that could heat up even more, as now they're catching up to 11, 3, and 20, who are also going to be battling for that lap down spot.
It'll be the race within the race. You're going to have 5 drivers on one agenda, 4 other drivers on an entirely different agenda trying to win this race. As we drop back here, that second group has actually formed up now. Cody Jordan's leading that with Tim Williams, John Mullins, Logan Helton, and Justin Carey in this group. Drayling's there, McWhirter, Piscota, Dalton Collins, Brandon Anderson, and James Love. So you've got about roughly... Oh, what happened with the 52?
Oh, no, but he got loose, so did the 8. Oh, they just about wrecked it off turn 3 and 4, and that's not going to help, and that's going to allow the Fords to catch up even quicker now. And that brings up the other point. If the Fords do have to pit, if they gain any more time, they're going to be actually coming out with the lead still. So if that was the plan for the Fords to make 2 stops, credit where credit's due, they're doing a good job, as now they're almost on the back of that pack after that near wreck in 3 and 4.
Cody Jordan, I can see a little bit of right front damage on his 52 car. Don't know if that might be affecting him in some way in terms of handling, but one car did actually go up and get the outside wall there through 3 and 4. It was either the 21 of Carey or the 42 of Drayling.
Look at the run the 48 car got down the back straightaway. Out of a cannon goes Brandon Andrews around the outside all by his lonesome. I don't know where he got that run, but he's going to go by the pack all by himself. That 48 car, very strong right now.
But we saw Taylor Butcher Benjamin making moves just like that by himself, so I wonder if maybe Brandon Andrews was taking notice of that and maybe made an adjustment accordingly, maybe put a little bit more grill tape on to allow him to do the same. Tom Draling sees the 48 getting that run. He's going to jump up to the outside and try and help push him to the front of this pack.
And they'll do it. They're going to clear the 13 of John Mullins down the back straightaway. What a move by the 48 and 42 respectively as they head back into turn 3. But don't look now. The leader is about to come into this pack and start lapping cars.
Boyd Hogan right now in this group, a bunch of drivers lapped down behind him, but it is formulated up to about a group of 12. Here come those Fords now. They're making their final pit stop of the day.
And if they make this right and they do fuel only or whatever they're going to do, they will still come out with this lead. If everything goes to plan, they have made enough time on the racetrack to do exactly what they're going to do here. So let's watch this carefully and see exactly what these drivers do on this pit stop.
And even if they don't cycle out still with the race lead and the rest of the top 5, even if they are within striking distance of that lead pack, they've proven all lined up that they're able to reel in the lead pack.
And it's going to be, it looks like 4 tires to everybody. So 4 tires on these 4 Mustangs. Let's keep an eye on Brandon Andrews off turn 4 now. And where are Boyd Hogan? They're off pit lane. They might just come out with the cycle on the back end of this pack. It's going to be close, but they did an excellent job strategizing around that and winning out on this end of pit lane. Very good job at the 4 Mustangs.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're going to hang on to the lead, at least for the moment, as Brandon Andrews, Tom Draling, and others have a full head of steam out of turns 1 and 2. Even if they do come out in front of these guys, I'm not sure they're going to be able to hold off their momentum.
No, but this is exactly what they wanted to do. They know they do have 5 cars, and they're going to be up to speed and catch on the back of this draft. So excellent job, especially by Boyd Hogan and, excuse me, the 17 of Richard Reagan Jr. They might come out ahead of this. Where they need to be is they're going to try to tandem and get up to speed ahead of this pack. Do they stay in front? No, the 48, Brandon Andrews, will strain around the outside, but they're up to speed now, and this will be a battle for leads side by side off the tri-oval.
Chevys on the top, Fords on the bottom. A couple more Fords about to try and get up there, try and help Boyd Hogan and Richard Reagan Jr. That's Helton, the 41, and Reed in the 32. And now Mullen's going to switch down to the inside line and leave his fellow Camaros. So now Brandon Andrews and Tom Draling stuck up there on the top side with no friends and starting to fade back there down the back straightaway.
And there it is. Boyd Hogan has worked the strategy out to perfection. Came in the pits leading, came out of the pits leading. Boyd Hogan right now is in control of this race as the leaders come off turn 4, but don't keep an eye out those Hendrick Chevys. They're lined up, and they're ready to start making a charge to the front of the field here in a couple laps.
Richard Reagan Jr., even despite going a lap down after speeding on pit road when all of those Fords came to pit road back on lap 12, he seemed committed, though, to this same strategy with Boyd Hogan, has been with him ever since the start of this race, but it doesn't matter what kind of alliance you form. You and I both know, Warren, that when you get down to about 5 laps to go, any alliances that you have formed, they are all out the window. It's every man for himself wanting to be the first one back to that checkered flag.
And that's very true. But if you're the spotter of the 2 car, Boyd Hogan, you're sitting there seeing that 17 car behind you. He's a lap down. He's effectively now the blocker you need. This is like a chess match. He is now the block to whatever piece you have left in that 13 car of John Mullins. So if the John Mullins goes to move the outside, that 17 car might move first and allow Boyd Hogan to get an idea exactly where that 13 is going to go. So this might work out for Boyd in the long run. But eventually later in this race, these lead lap cars are not going to be happy with a lap down car in the middle of their pack.
But just thinking of Richard Reagan Jr. in terms of a playoff driver, we know he's going to be locked into the playoffs after tonight. Do you want that 2 car to go to victory lane? He's already racked up 30 playoff points. You've only got 3. You don't want to find yourself at a huge deficit when the playoff points are all reformatted. So, I mean, do you feel willing to give those other 3 bonus points to that 2 car with the playoffs starting next week?
You know, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because if I was a driver in this situation, if I was Richard Reagan Jr., for one, I've been sticking with Boyd Hogan this whole race. He's gotten me where I am. I'm the lucky dog right now. I'm sitting right behind the leader, effectively. So if the caution comes out, I can thank him. But later in this race, you're right. Maybe you're sitting there going, well, I don't want him to get any more playoff points. And you might move up with the 13, tandem around him. Now you give him the 13 the lead of the race, taking the 2.
Oh, we nearly had a wreck. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine. I saw it too. That scared me half to death. But yeah, I'm going to finish my thought before they do wreck it up. That might be the thing at the end of the race. We might have to watch 13 and 17 to see if they're going to formulate something to get around that 2 car.
Tim Williams was where that checkup took place, getting into the back of Logan Helton, then nearly getting jacked up by the 21 of Justin Carey. And you wouldn't think it, but Warren, any contact that's made to the front end of that race car is actually going to affect you for the remainder of this thing.
It will, because you're not going to have another shot to come down pit lane and fix it. You're not going to have another shot to do anything like that. So these drivers, it's 3 wide on the back straightaway. 52 just got shuffled out of line. Bye-bye. Goes to 52 of Courtney Jordan. He's going to drop like a rock. But you're not going to have any more time to put any more tape or take off tape. So whatever you put on that last pit stop, unless a caution comes out, is what you're stuck with. And if that is damaged, that's not what you want.
Well, let's remember, too, that these Fords that we've been following during the course of this race, they have now used up 2 of their sets of tires, only 1 set remaining for them. Just about everybody else has 2 sets of Goodyear tires waiting for them should we get some late race yellows.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, tires don't mean much here. But like I said earlier with the setups, they might have to take a set to keep up with the track and how their car is handling. So we'll see how that works out. Some of these drivers who didn't take tires at last stop obviously feel good enough to keep the old tires in their car and safe enough to keep running where they're at.
Chad Goodisman only has 1 top 5 on the season. He's up in the top 5 now. He and Brandon Andrews have been working very well together. A Chevy pushing a Ford. They have made a lot of headway on that outside line. Right now, Goodisman side by side with Mullins for that 3rd position. They've got Dalton Collins in the 27 up there with him now.
Yep, and in about half a lap to 2 laps from now, they're going to catch 2 lap cars of Ryan Strunk and Chris Noble. Both had penalties that last cycle of pit stops. So they've linked up, and now they're a 2-car draft, but that's going to be nothing compared to the main big pack that's going to come up to them. And we're going to see how that now affects as a big Uno wild card and where you stack up coming through those lap cars.
It's kind of interesting because I mentioned the fact in the previous super speedway races that we've had here, none of the previous winners are in the field here tonight. You actually have to go all the way down to 6th at both Daytona and Talladega to find a driver that is participating in tonight's race. James Love was 6th in the Talladega race. Taylor Butcher Benjamin was 6th at Daytona. So a lot of these guys did not finish well in either of the super speedway races this season.
Yeah, and you know, that could be something they're going to want to change tonight. As it looks on the back of the field here, you see him on the top side. That's a tandem draft. The 48 of Brandon Andrews, the 41 of Logan Helton. They're going to tandem around the outside. They're going to unlink now, but they were tandeming on the back. And you see the head of steam they got on the outside of this racetrack. They're going to move up to about 5th in line, and they're going to try to have more help on the high side. Indeed, they will. The 18 back there gets in line. So does the 6. So the high side might be able to get something going here through the trial as they're back to tandeming on the high side.
These 2 guys very well might be battling for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series Championship in a few weeks, as both of them currently up in the playoffs. But here tonight, different teams, different manufacturers, but trying to work together on that outside line to work their way back up into the top 5. Right now, Brandon Andrews currently scored in the 4th position, Helton currently unofficially in the 5th spot.
Yeah, and we know how much tape's on that 48 car. We saw it off that ground at pit stops. It's got to be a good bit for him to have the speed he was to make that move. And that's good news for the 41. As they're catching the lap cars, this is going to be very interesting, as they're going to catch him coming out of the trioval where the car is the lightest on the racetrack. So this is going to be very iffy if they don't get in line, as they're going to go to the high side and let the field pass on the bottom.
All right, so far, 60 laps almost completed. Green flag has stayed out since the drop at the very start of this race. It's looking eerily similar to last night's National Series race, and in last night's National Series race, our only caution of the night came out with 7 laps to go. So, 20 laps to go here, Warren. I mean, do we start to see the aggressiveness kick up now, or do we wait about another 10 laps before we see the slice and the dice and we're used to seeing at Daytona?
No, I'd ask this 27 Dalton Collins that question. I haven't seen him make a move all night, and there he goes to the outside ahead of the 48 Brandon Andrews. So for some of these drivers that have obviously not had the speed to stay up at the front of the field, now is the time you're going to want to start making your moves. But if you're at the front of the field like Boyd Hogan, John Mullins, John Goodisman, Larry Reed, you're hanging back a bit waiting for that 5 to go. But if you're already in the back of the field like the Hendrick cars are, or let's say the 27, you're making your move now to set up that final 5 laps.
This is a battle for 5th between two drivers that have to win tonight to advance into the playoffs. Dalton Collins, the 27, Larry Reed in the 32. Right now, Collins edges ahead, now to the outside for 4th on Chad Goodisman. We are at 20 laps to go, 19 at the line. We're taking one more commercial break, and then we'll be back for the finish here tonight at Daytona. Laps to go when they hit the line this next time by. As you're watching Flatout Racing Network's coverage here this evening from Daytona, the final regular season race of the Soda Guys Cup Series. Boyd Hogan pacing the field, but as the laps tick away, we're starting to see these cars dancing around a little bit more. Collins leading that outside line there with Brandon Andrews. Another car back there, Ryan Strunk in the 77, trying to help push. And they need a little bit more up there if they're going to make that outside line work, I think.
Yeah, they're going to need more than just 3 cars, especially when these drivers on the inside are so organized. The energy is just right there. They're going to need something more. But right now, I mean, to be fair, they have the fastest car, I think, on the racetrack, Brandon Andrews, pushing. So this might work out, as indeed they will, to get alongside John Mullins, who will be tomorrow night racing at Homestead in the Tech Hub TV Cup Series, which I'll be joining, I believe, either Carlos or Michael Norman up in the booth with. But wouldn't that be something if you can go back-to-back nights here on Flatout Racing Network?
Yeah, John Mullins has 2 starts this season in the Soda Guys Cup Series, one of them a top 10 finish, and has been running really well here tonight as well in that Germain Racing Chevrolet. Boy, I got a little nervous there down the back straightaway because Brandon Andrews, he was lining up to the back bumper of the 27. Dalton Collins was getting awfully close to that right rear, and we got a caution.
Yep, wrecking the back 52 around on the bottom. I believe it's the 18 as well, off turn 4, and as they're going to pile in here.
James Love in the 88, nowhere to go as he clobbered the 18. Saw those Hendrick Chevys had lost the lead group. And unfortunately, not all of them were able to get through that wreck as the 88 smoking. Going to have to bring that Mountain Dew Chevrolet to pit road. Unfortunately for him, Tim Williams, when his car came to rest, it was down in the bottom groove of turn 4.
Yeah, and oh man, this is the product of single file racing. Unfortunately, what caused this wreck? It was a product of driver going high and the other driver thinking he's staying high, and then he didn't stay high, and well, that just caused a 2-car wreck. That unfortunately, the 88 was behind the 24, didn't see the 18 there. He just pilot driving the back of the 18, ending both their races.
These two were riding at the back of the lead group. There, you're going to see James Love just was committed to the inside line. Nowhere for him to be able to go. And Taylor Butcher Benjamin getting on the brakes. Almost got collected up in this. I don't think he made any contact with the 88, so I think he got through relatively unscathed. But we were talking about the fact those Hendrick cars had lost the lead pack. They were banking on a caution. And for guys like Muscoda, Arthur, Newsom, Hansen, it kind of breathes new life into them as we're going to be getting a restart somewhere in the vicinity, I think, of 9 laps to go.
Yeah, and this breathes life in the back of John Mullins and the rest of the front field. They don't have that 17 to deal with anymore. He's going to be gone from this equation. Actually, he'll be in the equation again as he got his lap back because of that. But that effectively leaves the lead pack up to the lead pack to figure this out.
Bad drivers hit pit road as we're watching on board with James Love. What happened out at turn 4? The top 7 decided to stay out. John Mullins from the 3rd position came to pit road along with Justin Levine, Ty McWhorter, Tom Drayling, and others, but most of those Fords decided to stay out, including a couple of Chevrolets as well. Dalton Collins, Brandon Andrews staying out as well.
And this is going to be the big, you're asking this before we went green tonight. How big of a deal are tires going to be? This is going to be your answer. These drivers have had some laps on their tires. The Fords not as much as the Chevys who pitted earlier in the race, but we just saw them coming down pit lane. So it's going to be about, about 25 lap old tires compared to fresh tires. Don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but it could be when you're starting to make dodgy moves and blocks. Just how much grip you do have.
Here's the interesting thing, too. You mentioned Richard Reagan Jr. is the recipient of the free pass. When you're the lucky dog, you have to start at the very tail end of the field. That's behind lead lap cars and lap down machines. That was the wingman that Boyd Hogan had there on that run. Now he's going to have Dalton Collins, his teammate Chad Gunisman, Brandon Andrews all behind him. He's not going to have anybody that's going to be able to block for him now when we go back green.
Yeah, that is true. The little saving grace he had Ford-wise is now gone, but starting on the inside with him is going to be Chad Gunisman. We've seen the Fords working together. That's 2 Fords and 2 Chevys. In the first 2 rows, going to be bump drafting, hopefully into turn 1. And that's going to be interesting to find out. I take that back. The whole inside row, the first 5 cars in the inside row, all Fords. So could that be something we need to point out as we go back to green here?
John Mullins in the 13 back down pit road. He was scheduled to roll off from the 8th position when we went back green. But it looks like now he'll be back around the 16th position for this restart as Tim Williams, James Love, they continue to have repairs made to their race cars. Ryan Strunk, he came to pit road under this caution, so he will still remain a lap down, but we may not be done with cautions either because we're going to be going back green with the lights out top the pace car with 11 laps remaining in this one. Still plenty of time for the dreaded big one to take place.
Indeed, and we want to talk about, earlier you asked me, when's the time to ramp it up, right? Well, now with 11 laps to go off this restart, it is going to be absolutely crank time. Making moves, making blocks. John Mullins, how quickly can he get through this field? The first, 50 laps of this race, pretty tame, then it got a little hot. Now it's really going to be, the stove is burning here at Daytona.
Dalton Collins, who is a must-win situation driver, going to start second. Larry Reed in 5th. They got those 2 drivers back there trying to settle it out. Who's going to maybe be the only car eliminated between Vincent Arthur and Joseph Biscotta as the green flag is back in the air here at Daytona. Hogan gets a good jump. We'll see if Collins tucks in line. He does. But look at that outside line. Logan Helton shoving Brandon Andrews.
And we saw how much Brandon Andrews has got in speed when he's out front of that draft. And as you see that through 1 and 2, Boyd Hogan bottom of the racetrack. Andrews high side. Andrews going to get the draft. The tandem on the high side is going to prevail off turn 4. New leader off the backstretch, Brennan Andrews.
Look at how much speed they generated out of turn 2 as Hogan's front bumper, Helton's front bumper, never left the back of the 48. Now Andrews clear for the lead. He'll move to the bottom. Now Helton up top with help from McWhirter and Vincent Arthur.
And this is the first time all night we've seen the outside line hold like this. You can tell the drivers are trying to make that outside line work for the first time tonight. It is double wide for about 6 rows deep as they cross the line. Brennan Andrews led that lap over Logan Helton and Boyd Hogan.
And this is where we start to see the blocking ramp up as well. Oh, Andrews with some connection problems at the front. That's a horrible place to have a car blinking. But if Andrews is going to be doing more mirror driving, looking out the windshield, one little mistake, one errant block could cost a lot of these drivers a good finish. As a big push topside, Helton's going to try to get alongside of that 48 going into 3.
It's not even that. One wrong mishap of the bumpers, and then the whole field's gone in the fence. So it is very touch and go when it comes to tandem drafting in these cars. The Fords can line up pretty nice, but oh, big moment there as the 3 car just got out of hand off turn 4. That could be some of the old tires trying to sneak their way up on you. As across the line, it's still double file for the 6 rows as they're 3 wide behind them.
9 laps to go here tonight at Daytona. A playoff spot could very well be on the line. Right now, Vincent Arthur in that 24 trying to keep the 27 and the 32 back there, trying to keep his postseason hopes alive as Helton, with help from McWhirter, they clear to first and second.
And the 96 tried to get below the 41 going to turn 3. Wasn't going to work. But look at it. Look at on the high side. Here's one of your playoff drivers that need to get in. The 24. We thought he was done. Vincent Arthur on the high side trying to take the lead late in this race here at Daytona.
Saw last night a debut driver do really well in the Rapid Fire Pizza race. Well, that's 6 of Justin Levine's making his series debut in the Soda Guys Cup Series, doing a heck of a job trying to push Vincent Arthur to the race lead.
And we're seeing the blocks, even for 6th on back, even getting hotter. As now we're just under 8 laps to go here. The 41, 96, 48 on the bottom. It is a 24 getting pushed. Bump draft, tandem, whatever you want to call it, down the back straightaway, trying to get even with the 41 going to turn 3. He's going to be on the quarter panel, but that's as far as he's going to get.
It's incredible how many times this season we have seen a Cup Series driver come down to the National Series and take a win away from Logan Helton. Logan Helton trying to do a little bit of payback here tonight and take a Cup Series win as he's only got 7 laps to go, but a bunch of hungry drivers.
Oh, wrecking in the tri-oval, hard in the inside wall. Oh man, that was Chris Noble pushing with Larry Reed. Larry Reed got hard in the inside wall. That's going to bring out a caution late in this race. We're going to restack it and do it all over again.
We had another car hard hit into the outside wall as well. Might have been the 18 of Tim Williams. I'm not certain, but somebody went nose first into the outside wall in the tri-oval.
Yeah, no, that 32 took a hard hit in the pit lane, and that was actually the 32. He bounced so hard from the inside, he came back out, hit the outside wall, and bounced back towards the infield again. That's how hard of a hit the 32 of Larry Reed took on a point of the wall that has no safer barrier in pit lane.
Larry Reed, we mentioned, a must-win situation driver, and boy, it just has seemed like there has been no luck for the driver out of Go Fast Racing. As I can remember back, I think it was Chicagoland. He was one of the top 3 cars of that race, one of the drivers we had as our potential drivers to win, and got involved in a wreck there. He gets involved in a wreck here as well. Very much so a driver that we could have seen go to victory lane, as here's the incident out of the tri-oval, and you see it right here. Oh boy, just I don't think the 8 realized he wasn't clear on the 32, and a lot of times, just with all that stuff happening so quick, you make a reactionary move, realize it's an errant move, but it's too late.
Yeah, and there's a little frustration for Larry Reed, and honestly, I agree with him, that 8 car. I believe it was 7 laps down that 8 car was making moves like that in the lead pack, so I'd be upset if I was Larry Reed as well.
Yeah, you get upset enough when you get involved in a wreck here at Daytona, especially if you have what could be a race-winning car, but when you've got a lap-down machine, as you said, 7 laps down for Noble, really no need for him to be slicing through the field the way he was, and see it again here on board with Larry Reed, and boy, you talked about 2 hard hits. for that 32 car. No doubt about it. His day is going to be over. Oh, wow, there's the first shot right down. I think it was into the first pit stall on pit road and then back up the track into the outside wall.
And just word from race control, Chris Noble has been disqualified from the event tonight due to that wreck, so that 8 car is now in pit lane parked for the rest of the evening.
That caution coming out is going to put, I believe, the 77 of Ryan Strunk back on the lead lap, so he's got a chance to be able to pick up a couple more positions before this evening is over. But based on the number of caution laps we ran under the last caution period, our first caution, here under the second caution, it looks like we're going to be going back green, maybe with 3 laps to go, maybe a 3-lap shootout, and there is the potentiality that we could end up seeing this race with 3 maximum overtime cautions.
Well, how intense we just saw them with about 7 laps to go, and now you rank it up even higher with 3 to go. Good Lord, we're probably gonna have to use all 3, to be honest with you.
And you look at the drivers we had up at the front on the last restart, all of a sudden the landscape has changed at the front of the field. It was Boyd Hogan and Dalton Collins that led us to the first restart. They're now back in 7th and 9th. They got shuffled out for sure, and now the question is, are they going to be able to work their way back up? Because remember, they did not come to pit road under that last caution. The drivers that are right now up inside of the top 4, 3 of them came to pit road under the last caution. Helton actually stayed out as well, 35-lap-old tires on that Stewart-Haas Racing Ford.
Yeah, and then there's one driver that we were talking about earlier. He's even pitted again on this caution. That's John Mullins. Don't know what's going on with that 13, but he pitted, like we said, twice that last caution. He pitted with 1 to go, and then he pitted this caution. So we don't know what's going on with that 13. Maybe taking tape off or putting tape on. We don't know. But he was back down pit lane once again this last caution.
Well, if he's putting the tape on, it's going to be very interesting to watch him try and work his way back up through the field, because we saw what drivers like Taylor Butcher Benjamin and John Andrews were able to do with what we can only assume was quite a bit of grill tape on the nose, making that outside line work all by themselves. And we see the 41 down here on the apron. Remember, he did not pit under the last caution. If we get some of these overtime green-white checkers, could some of these guys be concerned of making it on fuel?
Possibly. I know the Fords that we saw in that pack, like your Boyd Hogans and such, I don't think it's going to be much of a worry. I know the drivers who pitted with the Hendrick cars, John Mullins, they're not worried. But like Logan Helton, who pitted about midway through this race, yeah, you're getting near the end of the pit window if we have to go any farther than 80. So possibly you're talking about some drivers running out if we get maybe 1 or 2 green-white checkers here.
A couple of drivers that are on the same lap as far as fuel as Logan Helton would include Brandon Andrews, Dalton Collins, and Justin Carey. So we'll see if these drivers might be running into some fuel issues if indeed we have to use maybe 3 overtime green-white checkers. But the lights are out atop the pace car. We're getting ready to put them back green with what will indeed be 3 laps to go. If they can at least make it back to the white flag, we will race back to the checkers no matter what. But if we have a caution prior to that, we've got at least 1 green-white checker for these drivers as Helton, Vincent Arthur, Ford, and Chevy lead us down. Green flag back in the air at Daytona.
And what a restart for the 41 of Helton. But that's short-lived as the high side is going to get a good tandem as the 6 of Justin Levine and Vincent Arthur. As now he leaves in the dry. Oh, but the 48 pops up to help his Hendrick teammate. Teammate's going to try to go on the high side. But the 96 is going to try to make his move off turn 2. Let's see how this works off turn 2 as they're now double wide for 3rd place.
Here comes Boyd Hogan in the 2, Dalton Collins the 27, trying to work their way back up to the front. Richard Reagan Jr., who got the free pass under the first caution, now back up in the top 10 in that 17.
And it's going to be Chevy on the high side. And it's going to be Ford, Toyota, Ford on the inside. So let's see how this works off turn 4. So they're coming down to 2 laps to go. It's going to be Logan Helton. If you're Ty McRider, when do you make the move? Make the move now for 3rd place. Here comes Justin Levine to the high side. Going to try to make a move and bid for the win.
Ty McWhirter's got a win this season already, but he'd love to add some more playoff points. Now he's boxed on the inside line as Levine, with help from Arthur on the outside line, would love to win in his series debut. He's halfway up there, about to the right rear quarter panel of Logan Helton, coming off of 2.
he's going to be there. But now if you're the driver in the 24 or 48, do you take the risk and leave the 6 to dry on the middle and go around tandem on the outside? This is one of those choices you have to make as we're almost coming on the white flag through the 3 and 4. It's double wide for the first 6 or 7 rows as they come off turn 4.
Just a couple hundred feet away from that start-finish line. If they reach it and no caution, we race back to the checkered flag. We are under the white. We are going to race back to the start-finish line. Question is, who's going to be there first?
And right now, it looks like Logan Helton's got the bag, cat in the bag right now, but if you're the 96, do you try to move up? He's thinking about moving up, but there's no room. The 6 is at his quarter panel. Off turn 2. Tandem down the back straightaway. Vincent Arthur pushing the 6 car. Can he get to the quarter panel on the 41? No. 96. 2 on the yellow line. They're going to make contact. Right behind him, the 41 of Logan Helton is going to be home free if he can hold off Boyd Hogan.
And they're still wrecking over in turn 3. Now it's 2 cars, Logan Helton, Boyd Hogan, to settle it out to the start-finish line. Hogan has no help. Can he get a run maybe to the outside of the 41 coming to the stripe? No, he cannot. Logan Helton's going to get a Cup Series win here tonight at Daytona.
And that was just, I don't know where the 2-car Boyd Hogan was thinking he was going to go on the backstretch there, but that was just mental. That looked like the 2018 500 with Almirola getting dumped. That's what that reminded me of, but well done, Logan Helton. Led the last part of this race. Now he's a victor here at Daytona.
Justin Levine was turned up at the outside wall in the back straightaway off the nose of, I believe it was Vincent Arthur. We had Ty McWhirter. He got spun to the infield grass, and then a number of drivers wrecked up into the outside wall heading into turn 3. I think that Vincent Arthur, Ryan Strunk might have been a couple of those drivers, but the good news here for the Hendrick camp, with Logan Helton, a Rapid Fire Pizza National Series driver, going to victory lane, both Joseph Piscota and Vincent Arthur are going to clinch the final 2 spots into this season's playoffs.
Well, there it is. That's the whole playoff field set, isn't it? And now we move on to next week and get ready to start really racing for a championship, as Logan Helton's going to come down to the front stretch and give the fans here exactly what they wanted to see tonight, burnouts. But in turn 3, there was a lot more burnouts than we wanted to see on the final lap here. Just like last night. Made it through almost pretty clean, big one-wise, but final lap decided to be the big one that it needed to be.
We are used to seeing the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation car doing burnouts, but he's done it 3 times down the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. Tonight he gets to do it in a Cup car, and this means that Stewart Haas Racing has won 2 of the 3 Super Speedway races so far this season, and a big one here tonight for Logan Helton. As I mentioned, so many Cup drivers came down, took away wins from him. Tonight, he gets one back on them, taking his first Cup win here at the World Center of Racing. Let's look here at the full finish results from this race and kind of a who's who up inside of the top 5 after everything that went on from the back straightaway into turn 3. You mentioned Hogan finishing there in second from out of nowhere. Dalton Collins in third. Had to win his way into the playoffs, will not be able to do so. But the comeback of the race has to be Richard Reagan Jr., who spent the first half of this race a lap down because of that pit road penalty. He's going to get a top 5 and 4th.
Yeah, that was good run, wasn't it? And, you know, for the drivers we thought would be, you know, somewhere in this race, Vincent Arthur, I mean, he was, in my opinion, he had the catbird seat if he would have come off turn 4, but that big wreck, unfortunately, put him back in 12th place. Yeah, and you look back even farther than that. You know, Brandon Andrews thought had the car to win, finishes P18.
And the rest of the drivers behind him, Larry Reed, Tim Williams, and James Love, all involved in crashes here. 2 cautions during the course of this race. Oscar Jensen, tough break there for him as he was leading this race. Connection issues dropped him out of the server. He's still going to move on to the playoffs, but he'll finish 22nd, and Chris Noble suffering a disqualification due to aggressive racing as a lap car. That brought out our second and final caution of the day. It's time to get some interviews here with our top 3 finishers. I mean, we were talking about the fact that it's somewhat exhausting up here just to watch these guys making those moves. We're going to get an idea firsthand what these drivers felt, and let's kick things off with the number 27 of Dalton Collins. Hey, Dalton, it's Warren and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, sir, I do.
You came into this one in a must-win situation to be able to get yourself up into the top 20 in the point standings. Came up just a little bit short there, though. You almost had them there on that final lap. What more in positioning did you need to be able to make sure you were going to be the first one back to that checkered flag?
Really, man. After that last restart, I just got boxed in. Just really nowhere to go. Really, at that point, it was just push and see what you got. But crazy last lap down the backstretch. Just a huge wreck. I'm lucky I even avoided it. But yeah, didn't make it. But it is what it is. It's Daytona.
Obviously we saw a lot of drivers working together, manufacturers that were completely different. Toyotas with Fords, Chevys with Fords, Chevys with Toyotas. How difficult was it to line up bumpers? Because I've been told that some of these manufacturers, the way that the noses are made, it's not exactly easy to line those bumpers up.
I mean, it's not as difficult as you would think. Really, it's similar to what the trucks feel like when you're pushing. But yeah, if anything, the Xfinity cars are the ones that are really hard to line up. But pretty much you just want to keep it square, not get out, poke your nose out, because that'll easily turn somebody. But I mean, it's not as hard as you'd think to not turn somebody. Um, but yeah, coming in here and did all I could. I was there at the end and just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, this race, some of these races we can say, you had a great car all night. Everyone had a great car all night. It's a plate race. But we were up here contemplating who's put on more tape, who took off tape. We saw the 48 car. I don't know if he put. I don't know. He might have taped that whole thing up for how quick he was. How much tape did you put on your car? Did you take any more or off on that pit stop?
I just kept it, the same. I ran, as little tape as I could, and I think I had like 30% on there at the end. But I just tried to, keep as little tape as I could on it, just so I could push if I was there at the end. At the end of these plate races, you just push all you can and hope for the best, and that's really what I was trying to do. Working with Boyd, Richard, and Levine, Chad, all those guys all night. They were on opposite strategy than I was, but we all met together at the end and did all we could, just couldn't pull it off.
Dalton, as mentioned, unfortunately, you don't make it into the playoffs despite being a previous winner this season. What's the outset now looking towards the playoffs? Because obviously, I'm sure you're going to want to finish out the season.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna show up every week and try to finish as best we can. I know Boyd is in. I don't know who else is in. That's we're working with on the legacy esports side, but just try to show up every week, do the best we can, and try to make sure one of our teammates get it in. At least try to make each round and go for that championship. But yeah, just go for wins and just race hard, and hopefully the points will take care of themselves for the rest of our teammates, and we'll just go from there.
Well, Dalton, a great run for you here tonight. Third place at Daytona. We wish we could have seen you in the playoffs based on the prairie fire you've kind of put on with these drivers the last couple of weeks, but obviously we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming weeks here for the playoffs. We're going to do some shout-outs now.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate everybody at Legacy Sports, Boyd Hogan, Taylor Burris, the guys that help over there, Derek Runge, who helps run the team. Pretty much, everybody that's associated with that, Bruzy, Butt Kicker, Bobby Dale Earnhardt, just everybody that gives us all the support we can. And we just try to race hard every week and, do the best we can with what we got. Also, thank you to I Support STR. It's my own page that I run. If anybody wants to check out all the latest short track events that are happening across the calendar year for sim racing events and also real life stuff, we do some updates there. Go check us out. I Support STR on Facebook. Yeah, that's it, man. Daytona is Daytona, and we're not in, but we're going to go for some wins.
That's Dalton Collins. He puts his Prism Motorsports number 27 in third place here tonight at Daytona. Congrats on the great run, Dalton. We look forward to talking to you during the remainder here now of the season and into the playoffs.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And let's get our second place finisher, Boyd Hogan, who's going to be heading into the playoffs with 30 playoff points based off of his 10 wins during the regular season. Boyd, it's Warren and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios, you guys.
Yes, sir.
Well, if we go back to your only super speedway start here this season back at Talladega, a 20th place finish, infinitely much better here tonight, but we saw all that stuff go on from the back straightaway over to turn 3. You were right in the middle of it. So tell us what was going on in your mind from the driver's point of view.
I mean, that's just what you get, late race, restrictor plate tracks. I'm not the biggest fan of this racing, obviously. But yeah, it was crazy. I was hoping that I could clear Levine and pop up in front of him because I mean I had too much tape on it to start the race, and then just enough to not blow while leading, let alone being behind cars. So was definitely in the red there the whole last lap, hoping it wasn't gonna pop, and it never did. But yeah, it was crazy. I got into Ty a little bit. It looked like he was gonna be in that wreck with Justin and Vincent, and his car kind of wiggled to the right as if he was going, and I saw a little bit of contact being made, so I went down low. And by the time Ty was working his way back down, my bumper was already there, and I didn't want to turn him, so I went down a little bit below the yellow line and tried, letting no to the gas just enough to let him back up, or let him back down, sorry, and get myself back up. And we just we came together there. I guess I think we both just misjudged it, but it's hard racing, and apologize to him and everybody that may have got caught up in that part of the incident.
Yeah, you're going to the back straightaway there, and you're going to the back straightaway there, and I thought for a second, like, is he going to go below that W line and try to pass him? But when you explain it like that, yeah, that's that's kind of bad luck when it comes to that. But I got to talk about what you and the other Fords had planned coming down on like lap 8. You don't laugh. That's impressive. The fact that you guys were able to line up and chase down the back of the field like that, as Seth's having connection issues again. But good job on that. And was that the plan the whole way, was to do a 2-stop?
No. My plan, and I was talking about this with Steve, my roommate, earlier on. I told him that the plan was to tape it up and lead every lap. And so that was the initial plan. But I put so much tape on it that as soon as I got shuffled out a little bit, and I think I was the third car in line, my temp went instantly into the red at 287, and I knew I was gonna blow. So I'd mentioned it to the guys that we ran with, obviously the whole rest of the race. I was like, hey, I'm gonna pop. So we decided we'd pit and 2-stop it, and hopefully we can catch the back of the field. And we've been really fast in A opens and NIS all this week. And so we knew the car could do it. Didn't really want to put ourselves in the box, but yeah, it was. I had enough confidence in the car and in all of our guys that, they're saving gas the whole 80 laps basically to make it that far. If you're trying to do it on one stop, so when you take that out and you kind of save yourself that little bit of time there per lap, I guess. You close up the gap really quick, and that's kind of just what happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys were lapping almost a second quicker a lap in the mid part of that race. But congratulations on the second place finish here at Daytona.
Thanks, man. Also want to say thank you to everybody at Legacy Esports. Chris Overland was a big part of getting this set together. He's a big super speedway guy, and obviously, we got to show how fast it was, at least through the middle part of the race. So it was hauling ass. Thanks to him. Thanks to everybody who helped me work on it throughout the week. Justin Levine, Chad Ginnigsman. Judd Danielson at a Bruzy. I know he likes watching these. And everybody at Legacy. So thanks, guys. Thanks for putting on the show. I also want to thank our new league sponsor coming on next week, EM Global Group with Chris Hansen. So shout out to those guys.
That's Boyd Hogan. He's bringing home second place here tonight, carrying 30 bonus points into the playoffs next week. We wish you luck for that, and obviously you're going to have a pretty good points lead in the first round, but we look forward to seeing how many more times you put that 2-car in victory lane.
Yes, sir.
And let's go down to victory lane where Logan Helton has his Stuart Haas Racing Ford Mustang there. Logan, it's Warren and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, we talked to you last night with a P3 run in the Rapid Fire Pizza Series race. Tonight, you put it P1, and I documented a number of the Cup drivers coming down to the National Series, taking wins away from you. How good does it feel to be able to take one from them here tonight in the Cup Series?
It just feels like revenge almost, and I'm so glad I could do it. And it's nothing that I have against those guys. Like, they have every right to come down and race for the win, just like I did tonight. It's just it was more for myself, not to prove a point against anyone else.
Well, I tell you what, you proved the point. I'll give you that. You came in to the last part of this race, and you were leading. You're up near the front the whole race when you think about it, except for that middle part where the pit strategy's kind of separated. But I gotta think. That last lap. What was your thought on the back straightaway, seeing them? Oh, I don't know, almost 3.5 wide behind you, trying to get past you. What was your thoughts? And then obviously you seen that wreck.
Looking in the mirror, I saw the 96 behind me, and I actually wanted him to stay behind me because I felt like I could keep him beneath I think it was the 6 car in the outside lane, and I didn't think they would get much of a run, or I mean, they'd get a run, but not big enough to pass me on the outside. And whenever I saw him wreck, I was actually a little scared that I'd get passed by a Boyd there at the end, but I was able to hold him off. He just didn't get the big enough run and just didn't get there in time, I don't think. But I would have preferred it to them not to wreck if I could have a choice.
One luxury that you didn't have tonight that you had last night, Logan, was no teammates to work with. You were the only Stewart-Haas racing car in the field, and so obviously you had to kind of put on the diplomatic suit and make some alliances out there. Who were some of the drivers that you were working with to keep yourself up there at the front of the field?
I actually was in a group chat with Boyd Hogan, and I can't remember everyone's name, but I do know it was mostly with Boyd Hogan, I think the number 6 car, Larry Reed, and I think the 27 car. But I didn't really do a good job at the team game, especially whenever I pushed the 48 down in front of Boyd, and Boyd had a lot of tape on his car, so he couldn't really push that hard, and he was about to blow up that last time. So I didn't do the best job at the team game, which I probably should have done better. But we talked about it afterwards, and it was just a Boyd. I think was okay with it. Obviously, he got a second place finish, but yeah, I was working with him because I wanted somebody to pit with. I wanted people that I could trust not to run me over in the pit road or even on track while pushing me if anything comes down to that.
Well, Logan, there's no doubt that this is going to help you. We got a couple more races left before we get to the regular season end in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, but no doubt that this Cup Series win is going to help you with your momentum moving forward in that series as well. We're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Yeah. Thanks to first of all, thanks to Chris Hansen, for he's going to be taking on the sponsorship. I'm pretty sure after this race for the Cup Series. Thanks to all the league sponsors, Soda Guys, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Shorba's Racing Graphics, FSM Customs, and Abiding Love Memorial Urns. Thanks to my sponsors, RGC Media. Thanks to Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for being on the car, LKH Graphics, all my family and friends that watch the races, you guys that put on the broadcast, and everyone at the league that lets us race every week.
Well, Logan, we're not going to quite let you go just yet because we're actually going to bring in a couple of people here. Jacob Shorba, the owner of the league, as well as Chris Hansen, who's the reason Soda Guys is the sponsor of the series, who have a little surprise for you.
How you doing, Logan? You got your revenge.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. That was really fun to watch at the end. I was going to ask, you like soda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if you were going to say no, that would have been really upsetting. What's your favorite kind?
I don't really have a favorite kind.
Well, you'll need to decide because we're going to send some to your house.
I guess Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola? All right. Yeah, so we were thinking about what we wanted to do and figured Soda Guys that made a little bit of sense. So you'll have a lot of Coca-Cola at your house here soon. But congratulations, man. I mean, this is impressive tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for sending me a bunch of soda.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so hopefully you use up a lot of soda down there in Victory Lane because you're going to have a lot more to replenish it there. As Logan Helton is your winner here tonight at Daytona. picking up his first career Soda Guys Cup Series win. Congrats, Logan. And that is going to bring Flatout Racing Network's coverage to a close here this evening from Daytona. And Warren, I mean, you've experienced this track in real life before, and definitely I think that this is something that we usually expect to see when it comes to Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah. This is one of those things to where you expect the runs to come around you. You expect everything to go to plan, but it was one of those races to where it was kind of calm. I'll give it credit; it was a calm race. But as all these plate races go, you get down to about 10 laps to go, and you're on top of the tower spotting for somebody. You usually, you start scrunching a little bit, thinking, this is going to be the point of the race where you're going to end up getting a wreck, and we saw one on the final lap. But congratulations, Logan Helton, on that amazing win tonight here at Daytona.
I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it might very well have been Dalton Collins, who alluded to the fact that the series is going to be changing its name. So this is going to be the final time that the Soda Guys Cup Series will be called thus. And so we're going to bring Chris Hansen back in here for a moment, and we're going to turn the microphone over to you, Chris, to be able to do a little bit of talking about Soda Guys.
Oh, sure. Soda Guys is a company that a friend of mine and I started. It's basically a vending machine company. However, what we do is we provide training opportunities and employment opportunities for people with developmental disabilities in the Denver area is what we do. So unfortunately, COVID kind of slowed us down. So we're not able to start until next month. So I kind of wanted to do it, sort of sponsor the league over the summer when we were in action, but COVID kind of slowed us down there. So.
Yeah, obviously, unfortunately, COVID has been affecting a lot of stuff. But I mean, Chris, we want to thank you, and we want to thank Soda Guys for coming on board for this series. A great company for a great cause and a great series as well. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks to all the great drivers in the league and Jacob for putting on the league and everybody else. It was a lot of fun. So, and you guys for sponsoring. It was great. And doing the broadcast.
Well, it's not a problem here. And again, a big, tremendous thank you to you. And congratulations on making it into the playoffs as well. We look forward to seeing what you're going to be able to do when the playoffs begin next week at Darlington.
Yeah, thanks. That's a tough track for me, but we'll hopefully get a top 10.
And so next week, it's going to be very difficult for me to be able to get used to doing this because I've been so used to calling the Soda Guys Cup Series. But as was told, it will be the EM Global Group Cup Series for the remainder of the playoffs and the remainder of the season. And we'll figure out just how many fails I'll have before I eventually get the name correct. But Warren, I appreciate you joining me here tonight for an action-packed race at Daytona, a wild one, and great to have you in the booth with me.
It's always good to be in the booth here at Flatout Racing Network, and I'm glad to be doing back-to-back. You'll see me tomorrow night in the Tech Cup Series commentating.
Absolutely. So be sure to tune into that one tomorrow evening. Rapid Fire Pizza, we'll see them at Darlington next week as they've got a couple more races, Darlington and Richmond, before we determine their 12-driver playoff grid. And 16 drivers now have confirmed they are moving on here after Daytona. They will head to the Lady in Black to begin the first round of the playoffs and eventually find out who is going to be the champion. But for Warren Keith, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in this evening from Daytona. Logan Helton, your winner, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.